CTV's W5. Long simmering tensions explode in the Middle East.
They came to my bedroom and killed my boyfriend just because.
Come here, come here. Here, Adrian.
There's a very strong feeling in Gaza right now that there's nowhere safe.
And
it was like, this is where we belong.
A groundbreaking school brings new hope to special students.
It's the most gratifying work I will ever do.
Hello to Amir, how are you?
The joy, the inspiration, there's no other place like it.
Here is Avery Haynes.
Welcome to W5. As the Israel-Hamas war rages on, the world has been confronted with almost unbearable images of brutality, death, destruction. There have also been extraordinary acts of selflessness, like the Canadian-Palestinian doctor trapped in Gaza, now using his skills to treat young victims of war, and the Canadian-Israeli who made a split-second decision in his final moments on Earth to save others. Adrian Gobriel has just returned from the Mideast.
Daybreak on Saturday, October 7th. The week-long festival of Sukkot, celebrating the gathering of the harvest, has just ended. And a typically quiet Sabbath morning is being observed across much of Israel. But that stillness and serenity doesn't last long. A horrific and shocking act of terror. Blockaded areas of the Gaza Strip are overwhelmed as gunmen storm into Israel. A slaughter ensues. Israelis are indiscriminately killed. More than 200 young people at a music festival gunned down. Others elsewhere killed en masse by hand grenades. Some torn from their families, kidnapped, perhaps never to be seen again. The attacks come from the air. Hundreds, even thousands of rockets are fired into Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announces that his country is under siege. We are at war, he says. This morning, Hamas launched a surprise murderous attack against the state of Israel and its citizens. Hamas is both a political party and a militant organization based in the Gaza Strip. Even before the recent attacks, Canada and many other countries designated it a terrorist organization, an Arabic acronym. In English, Hamas translates to Islamic Resistance Movement. Since its creation in 1987, Hamas's focus has been an armed resistance against Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip, and ultimately, the destruction of Israel itself. I arrived in Israel 2 days after Hamas's devastating attack and quickly learned that working in this war zone means the possibility of a rocket attack is ever present. The scream of air raid sirens warn that rockets are headed towards our specific location. Everyone is sent scrambling as the threat from above approaches. When caught driving in the open during an attack, it means abandoning our car and racing towards a nearby ditch, where we dive for cover.
You were just talking, Marlene.
Come here. Here, Adrian.
Often sirens would go off while we were outside, so our crew and anyone else nearby hurried to get off the streets, this time seeking shelter in a parking garage. But when the siren stopped and it was safe to go back outside, we went in search of people, especially Canadians, to hear what they have endured.
When you're on the ground in a war zone, you can become desensitized by the stories. Everything is so extreme. But then there's the story of Neta Epstein. We went and spoke with his mother, and her story of her son's final moments brought us to tears.
He was a very kind soul, and he had very good manners, Canadian manners. So yeah, he would definitely be remembered for that. Also for his beautiful smile and beautiful, huge brown eyes that were very soft.
On the morning of Hamas's attack, Ayelet Shakar Epstein and her 21-year-old son Neta were separated, but stayed in constant contact via text. She told him his grandmother had been shot and killed, but that Ayelet herself was somewhere safe. Neta wasn't so lucky.
He wrote to me, there's a lot of noise, there's screaming in Arabic, there's shooting outside, and I wrote to him, just hold Iran tightly, and I love you. And then he said, the next thing he wrote is, they're here, Mommy. And that's it. So he knew it was coming.
Neta was hiding in a safe room in an apartment building in a kibbutz. Alongside him was his fiancée, Irene Shavit.
After 2 hours, they told us officially they are Hamas in the kibbutz. And lock the door, close the windows, hide.
They stayed locked in that safe room, continuing to text and learn about the fate of other family members. And then the killers came for them.
3 terrorists burst into their apartment. They broke the window and they broke through the door, and they started calling them in Hebrew, actually.
At 11:30, they broke us the window at our living room. They opened our safe room. They throw a grenade, 2 grenades.
They threw a grenade that didn't go off, and then they threw a second one that I guess was just minor.
But there would be a 3rd grenade, and this one landed near Irene.
Neta saw that the grenade was aimed at Irene.
It was rolling through me. And Neta jumped. He jumped, and during the jump, they shoot him several times.
Neta sacrificed his life, all in an effort to save his beloved fiancé.
I saw him dying. I saw him bleeding to death and just lying there.
He loved her so much that he gave his own life.
Yeah.
Neta was dead, and Irene was left alone with the killers still in their apartment.
They didn't come in the room to see if there is another person in the room, and they stay in the living room, talking, laughing.
Those terrorists, they didn't bother making another step to see if there's anyone else in the room. That's how she kept safe. She hid.
After the terrorists left, the soldier came, saved me.
Irene was eventually rushed out of the building to safety, but Neta's body was left behind where it would stay for 3 days.
They came to my bedroom and killed my boyfriend just because. I especially asked why. Why? I don't understand why.
Finally, 10 days after his death, Neta's body was laid to rest.
So our role in the world, it has always been, but now even more than ever, is to make sure they're happy.
I'm obviously can't hold it together, but where are you finding your strength?
Right here. This is our future. my beautiful daughters, the two I gave birth to, and the third that we now adopted as our daughter, Irene. So they are our future. They are our hope.
This is a beauty, eh?
I love that shot.
Yeah, he looks good there, eh?
He looks really
That's
good.
5 years ago.
Kids as
Bob
well,
Lubarski
you know?
is Neta's great uncle.
Yeah, good memories there.
He and his wife Sandra cherish their memories of Neta.
Yeah, that's the one shot I have. It goes way, way back when he was, I don't know how old he could have been there. 2?
Especially their visits with him here in their home in Montreal and back in Israel.
So for me, he was like a grandchild. And he was always an upbeat, smiley kind of person.
As a young boy, Neta had a gift for the violin, but as he grew older, soccer was his passion.
He is quite a soccer player. He was a goalie.
Though only 21, Neta was well-traveled. He grew up in Israel, but spent several summers at this Jewish camp in Minnesota, and was last in Canada to visit family in 2018.
All the fun to be had in Tremblant. And as I say, that's where we treated him to poutine and beaver tails.
News of Neta's death shook Bob to his core.
His uncle, my nephew, called me and crying and tearful, and he blurted right out, "Neta is dead." Total shock. Just left me. My wife and I couldn't stop crying. We haven't slept since. Neither of us have slept a night since. He did what he needed to do to save another, and I think that's quite a testament to his memory. His death was not in vain. He saved a life.
Young and madly in love, Irene and Neta had been a couple for a year and a half. They were making plans to be married and to live out their lives together.
I love him still. I can't speak at him in the past. He's still with me. I'm still hoping he will come to me in my dreams.
Coming up, through grief and protest, hope remains.
My hope is for there to be peace and prosperity in that region.
When W5 continues.
While this war began on the morning of October 7th with the surprise and vicious attack by Hamas on Israel, the roots of this conflict go back much further. May 14th, 1948, David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, proclaims the founding of the State of Israel after Arab leadership rejects a plan to partition Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. A profound and proud moment for Jewish people everywhere, but one that immediately prompted the Arab-Israeli War, also known as Israel's War of Independence. A tenuous peace was reached in early 1949. Though no Palestinian state was created, boundaries with Israel's Arab neighbors were created around East Jerusalem and the West Bank, which Jordan occupied, and similar borders were established around the Egyptian-occupied Gaza Strip. The next major conflict would come in June of 1967, in what's known as the Six-Day War. Israel's overwhelming attack, first through the air and then on the ground, led to a decisive victory. Israel took over land previously occupied by their neighbors in Jordan, Egypt, and Syria. They now occupied the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Sinai Peninsula, much of the Golan Heights, and the Gaza Strip. In the decades that followed, other conflicts have occurred, and occasionally peace deals have been reached with Palestinian and Arab leadership. But Palestinian resentment over the occupation of what they consider their homeland, dating back to the Ottoman Empire, has never waned. Hamas's victory in the last election held in Gaza in 2006 further fueled conflict with Israel, and the terror inflicted during the October 7th attack suggests any potential peace in the region is a long ways away.
One thing you learn quickly when covering a war such as this is just how unpredictable it can be from moment to moment.
Like this moment when a rocket landed in the water nearby. During a call to prayer, sending us scrambling to safety. In the densely populated Gaza Strip, the scale of the destruction from the bombings is catastrophic. Gaza itself is a small stretch of land, 41 kilometers long and about 10 kilometers wide. For comparison, Prince Edward Island, with a population of about 170,000, is 15 times bigger, and yet Gaza is home to more than 2 million people. UNICEF estimates that even before the war, about half of those people live in poverty. That number is much higher now. After all, in peacetime, Israel supplied Gaza with food, fuel, and water, but that stopped after the Hamas attack. Israel's crippling bombing campaign, retaliation for the Hamas attack, has left shortages of virtually everything. Even as humanitarian aid trickles into Gaza, it's not nearly enough. Much like its similar rallies in cities across Canada and around the world, thousands of people gathered in London, Ontario in support of the besieged people of Palestine. Among thousands taking part in the march, Rana Badir and her 3 daughters, 16-year-old Sama, 10-year-old Jenna, and 8-year-old Summer. Rana's husband, Dr. Ehab Badir, is among 2 million people trapped in Gaza. He traveled there in late September to tend to his ailing parents.
What do you know about your husband right now? Where is he?
He had to evacuate from his parents' house to his sister's house because that area wasn't safe. They have limited access to water, electricity, food, no access to internet.
With sporadic electricity and connectivity in Gaza, keeping in regular contact is impossible. Rana tries calling him dozens of times over the course of every day, but sometimes days go by before a call goes through.
And I freak out when he doesn't respond to the call. I freak out. Something must have happened. It's just I need to know that he is alive.
It sounds like you're living in a constant state of fear.
I am living that constant fear.
This is the neonatal ward in Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. Ehab is spending most of his days here. Caring for prematurely born babies is his specialty. He's risking his life to save those whose lives have barely begun, while also tending to the wounded.
He understands that every day he leaves his parents to go to the hospital, maybe the last day that they see him.
Dr. Nabil Sultan is Ehab's friend and one-time colleague in London.
How would you describe what your friend is doing right now? So Ehab has made a decision that he is going to risk his life to try and help as many people as he can. And he has decided that he is going to make the trek, the dangerous trek to the hospital there every day, and to treat as many babies and neonates as he can, and to be of service to the degree that he is able to.
What is the condition like in Al-Shifa hospital right now where Ehab is working?
Palestinians are using hospitals as places of refuge. So you have this situation where you have refugees, you have patients that are overrunning the hospital, and you have few supplies and little fuel to keep the generators going.
But when you've been speaking with Ehab, What is his main concern?
His main concern is the machines that are in the neonatal ICU and in the adult ICU to continue running. In neonatal ICU, where you have preterm babies, their life is dependent on machines. And as soon as those machines are off, these fetuses won't survive more than a few minutes. And so it is life and death.
He's doing his best to save lives. I am so proud of him. I'm so proud that he is capable of serving some of the people suffering there.
Are you concerned you could lose your friend in this war?
Absolutely. There's everyone in Gaza at the moment knows that life is day by day. I know that I may, call him one day and not find anyone on the other line, or worse, find someone else to tell me that he has passed away. And it's something that I have to live with every day here, as his wife and children do.
That's a real fear for you.
Absolutely.
That you may call him and he's no longer there.
Absolutely. There's a very strong feeling in Gaza right now that there's nowhere safe.
Rana knows that better than anyone. The war has already taken an enormous toll on her family there.
My parents lost their house and lost their son at the same time.
Your parents' house was bombed.
Yeah.
Your brother was inside.
My brother was inside. And he was killed. I lost many of my family members, many relatives, same way. The exact same way.
What is your hope for the outcome of this war?
First, I hope that's to cease fire now as a first step. And I need my people to live in a peaceful, totally peaceful place. And not being worried about them day and night.
My hope is that my friend remains safe and that he returns to his family here in Canada so we can see him again. My hope is for there to be peace and prosperity in that region and in Gaza, and for people to live freely in that country without the siege and without the blockade and without the occupation. That is my hope.
There is now an online campaign to award Neta Epstein Canada's highest civilian honor, the Cross of Valor, for sacrificing his life to save his fiancée.